Not Mr. Ali Sajwani. Ali Sajwani is our Group Chief Information Officer for EmiratesNBD, and he could not make it at the last minute, hence I represent him. But we worked on this together, so it's not like I'm going to be a proxy. It's, you're going to hear it from the horse's mouth, the content. Before we start, I would like to ask a question in hindsight. I think most of us, all of us were here in the same place around the same time frame, about May. Do we all agree? A lot of people were here last year, similar conference. From then to now, I would like to ask the question to the audience. How many of blockchain use cases have gone live in the UAE? Not pilots. Pilots, we also have done many. How many use cases have gone live in the UAE? In each of our organizations, while the technology team are working very hard or very excited about these new technologies, how many business teams or businesses are part of your discovery journey? Do they truly realize or are they truly aware of the value of blockchain, or it's more of hype and the media and the news they see? Hence, what we thought was, besides discussing about what is blockchain and the benefits which everybody knows about it, we have all read a lot about it, let's discuss some challenges we face today, the ground level implementation challenges, and what should we do as a community to make progress. Now, with a show of hands, do we agree that this should be the right content to discuss in this forum? So I would rather, the topic initially was best practices of blockchain. I don't know even if it exists, best practices, but through discussing the challenges, let's come up with at least some better practices which we as a community can work together and actually realize the potential of this technology as we move forward. Now, two key discussion points. I would talk about some challenges we think we are facing, and I would like to hear from our community and friends whether they're facing the same and how can we work together to help each other. And one very important and very interesting use case we are working on, we'll be transparent, like getting inspired from the government on how they're so transparent and a lot of work they are doing. A very important use case which we think would help the community and economy of UAE transparently, and we'll invite collaborating partners to collaborate with us as well. Now, the first challenge, maybe a little controversial, but I think it's good to still state it. Are we truly collaborating? I know Mo said that we're collaborating in these forums, but when it comes to implementation and in terms of actually getting the work done, are we truly collaborating or competing? Any views?
There's very little of any collaboration or competition. You don't know who you're competing with. We've had out there, and out on the ground with anything of production level, pilot level. Everything's still a POC. Just now they're realizing that if they want to go further with this, we've got to have the cooperation of the partners that are going to participate in the overall process when you implement the blockchain.
Thank you very much. Our view is everyone is working in silos within the organization, which is not bad, I'm saying. But then the blockchain is a technology, trust between two untrusted or two unknown people. Working in blockchain POCs in silos is not fruitful within the organization or intra-organization. Unless heterogeneous businesses get together and work together, only then the true benefit of blockchain comes in. Otherwise, I don't need blockchain within my organization. But a good example was the government one, where 11 government entities have worked together. That's a perfect example of how a blockchain should be used. And now we should partner with them in consuming those data as well, which can help our businesses. So our observations are, every organization, whether it's cross-industry, whether industry-wise, have been working in silos, which is not actually helping true collaborations and implementation. Focus is more on, including us, my boss is not here, so I can say that. Focus is more on press releases and a lot of hype. It is good to a certain extent, but it's been about 2015 is when the blockchain as a technology, 2015 August or September, at least in the UAE, became a lot of awareness about the technology came in. We are in 2017, not a single use case which has gone live. The reason which I feel personally, sorry, in UAE.
Shareholder proxy e-voting solution and ATM meeting management is in production.
We didn't know, I was not aware of it. We were not aware of it. Great. So at least we have one use case now, which has gone live in the UAE, and that should be an inspiring story for all of us. So what we are recommending, or what we thought we should recommend in this forum is, because business needs to work with trading partners and everything, form cross-industry groups. Let there be a governance board like Blockchain Council, which is a fantastic forum for organizations to meet up. I think a lot of work there is where we got our learnings and we were able to make progress in this field. And let these smaller groups of people, not too many of them in the same forum or a big, large consortium, work together and meet frequently and share their knowledge. Maybe this would really help us mitigate some of the day-to-day challenges which we faced at the implementation cycles. Now, what has happened is, the equation is, the business has piled up with, they have come up with many, many use cases, which they think they will really benefit. But now the technology at the platform level, or some of those implementation challenges, have becoming us kind of slowing us down in terms of implementation. That's our view. If they're like one of the statement I made probably was not incorrect in terms of if there are any other views or contradicting or complementing views, please, I think it's time to share feedback interactively, because that's where I see the value of such forums beyond networking. I think I know a lot of people out here, but as a social networking event, let's make this more productive. These are our observations, our recommendations. We are not mandating we come up with a complex consortium side kind of a setup or something. Very simple, could be informal, could be semi-formal, where people get together, cross industries, come up with use cases, meet regularly, and share knowledge among people. I think collaborating is the only way to move forward. And we can keep the competition restricted to key business use cases, which is unique and brings competitive advantage to that industry. Rest all is, I don't think it's common knowledge. Moving on. The second challenge which you are facing is, at the ground level, is a platform strategy. Now, we have a lot of different thoughts, different schools of thoughts on many different technologies, and everybody is pushing their platforms. The reality is, which one to adopt has been one of the key challenges, at least for us, and I'm sure with a lot of your people as well, your organizations. Because there are no best practices, there are no standards, it's all evolving, so we have to take that jump forward and take that risk to move forward, which we are doing. But we need help here. So again, through collaboration, if we can get help, that would really, really help. What ground level challenges we faced while we implementing? I have my colleagues here who have actually created a full lab with all the flavors there, because we didn't know which one was the best and which one we should start with. Some of the challenges we faced was being from banking industry, the security side of things. Each organization is doing their own RFPs. We are evaluating our platforms individually, and we may have some preference. But blockchain use case goes beyond one company. So when 2 companies or 3, 4 companies get together, these individual preferences become kind of it creates a bit of a competition between whose preference and which platform to start with. That's what we faced reality when we had 4 or 5 teams work together and then said, no, we should go with this, we should go with this, we should go with this. That's reality. Now, I don't know how to solve this problem, frankly speaking. Maybe we'll adopt what the government adopts. We'll wait for that. Or we'll start with something. Then the question would come is, if we start with something which is not adopted by, is not the same platform which the masses adopted, or a larger adoption of that, would our platform be able to migrate and port to the standard platform? That's one of the most important questions we are keeping in mind when we are executing and implementing our use cases. So what we really need is even to take that risk and move forward and be transformative and be a leader, what we need is a very flexible architecture, support from technical partners who can provide these services, which can meet the current demand, also can transform in the future to meet a larger acceptance of this platform. How can we overcome this is a question I'll leave with the audience. And if there are any suggestions, we can talk about it, or we can talk about it offline. I would love to learn from the audience any suggestions on how do we move forward.
One of the problems is you have the big guys out there pushing their own idea of what a blockchain is and what the company should be, what they should start out with, rather than assessing the pain points of the company that they're working with and try to pick or choose a protocol, whether it's open or proprietary, that's going to be best used in meeting those pain points, solving those pain points, how much functionality is in this chain that will help them move forward. Because you're 6 months down the road, you got to make a switch. Okay, we run into this. We have one chain we're using that has Israeli technology in it, which is a no-no. Believe it or not. For several government entities here in the GCC, they don't want to touch that pot. So we've got a lot of experience in redeveloping several projects with several different chains. You have to work in deciding, does the chain have the functionality that will best get me started in the right direction to solve the pain points that I'm facing that brought this project to the table in the first place. Being able to...
Go ahead.
Excuse me.
Sorry, guys.
A ton of time for networking and questions. So just to keep things on schedule, a lot of events go over schedule because there's questions and answers. We've created this event to have many networking events to ask all the questions.
Okay.
So please take some time afterwards to answer them.
All right, fine, thanks. Sorry. We'll have a probably chat. I'm very interested in what you did, so we'll talk about it. So that's one challenge, one question. How can we overcome this? Is something a larger question, and we can all discuss during the networking event. Would love to see views on that. Third challenge, which I have not added here, is the monetization by the partners and vendors. Blockchain in general is supposed to be open source, right? You open source technologies, you can download, you can develop on it. But what we have realized now is because due to lack of availability of skills, there are certain niche partners and vendors where the cost of implementation of the professional services are extremely high, which becomes a kind of a show, because if you have to take this risk, an experiment, does the cost of the experiment worth it or not is a big question mark, which the management always comes up with. So I think what we need to do is build skills. We need more workshops, more training sessions. We would like our partners, technical partners, to come and help the community. Oh, we'll pay for the training, don't worry, it's not free of cost. But a larger skill set would only help the economy of Dubai, not the organization itself or the vendor itself. Moving on, I will share with you one of the use cases which we feel will help the economy of UAE. Again, it's impact-based use case, not for the benefit of EmiratesNBD, not for the benefit of banking sector, but for the benefit of the consumers and economy of UAE. It's a very conservative number because we do not have a published number. About close to 25 to 40 million dirhams of fraud losses happen because of check duplication. What do you call that? Check frauds in the UAE just last year. If we take about last value of about last 3 years, this could amount to close to about 80 million probably. It's a typical check processing a flow. You have an issuer who issues you a checkbook. You present the check, you give a check to your beneficiary. The beneficiary goes to the presenting bank. The check moves back to central bank. Central bank sends it back to the issuing bank. And if there was a fraud, if it was a forged check, you need to go to about 4 or 5 steps till you would be able to identify whether this is a fraudulent instrument. And that too if you are lucky, because what you receive from the whole process is a scanned image. And it's very difficult to identify a fraudulent instrument from a scanned image at the issuing bank. To verify that it's fine, and you can go ahead and pay the beneficiary. So this has caused the losses which you saw the number beyond it. What we are proposing is, and we have already started work on this, so we'll talk about it more later. We're going to introduce in our checkbooks, as an issuing bank, a unique random number or a unique identifier which is not sequential. It is backed by some algorithms. Am I right, Jan and Abdul? Yeah. Which would make this leaflet unique. Every check leaf. Over and above. What we would do is, we will use, it's a very complex diagram, so we'll use blockchain to create a hash for every check leaf we issue to the customer. So every check leaf has a corresponding unique number, and it has a blockchain algorithm, hash. It has a hash references in the blockchain, which will be one of our nodes. Yeah. So what did we achieve out of this? What we achieved is you can identify, because the check is unique, and the random number was not predictable because it's very, very random in nature. Use nice algorithms to do that. The probability of forging a check instrument is extremely low unless you lose your checkbook yourself. That's a different thing. Signature is a different thing. The risk is limited to that check leaf itself. And if somebody tries to forge a check, you do not have to wait till it goes across the whole 9 yards and get caught at the issuing bank. You can identify the fraud at source. You can, at the presenting bank itself, while you go and deposit, can say this check is invalid because it has a reference to the blockchain. It validates the check instrument and can give you the result then and there. Over and above, we can also extend it that even when you give the check to the beneficiary, there's an app or something we do at the self-service channel where the beneficiary can scan the check right away, using the QR code, and get to know whether the check is fraudulent or not. So you can reject it then and there. It doesn't even come into our system. We believe we have started work on this. We have started our creation of our node. So we'll have a repository of our issued checks and hashes, which will help, we feel, will help the check eliminate or reduce the fraud losses. There are various fraud losses, various fraud scenarios when it comes to checks. So we feel at least 20%. 20% of 40 million, I think, is a good business case to move forward. And I think this was one of our winning ideas in our EmiratesNBD's Employee Innovation Program, which we are moving forward. Our CEO has given us a go-ahead to do this.
This guy asked something more. For you, first of all. 2 things. I know they can ask in the networking, okay, but the whole point of this is that we kind of share our ideas amongst each other as a whole. So can we leave at the end of every 2-3 questions that people might want to ask and we have answered?
I really understand it. These things are well thought out because these things do drag on. It can make the whole...
Listen, we're here to interact. So, for example, my question to him is this, okay? And you're talking about implementing blockchain for checks, okay? But the whole concept of blockchain is trying to get out of this paradigm, all right, as a bank, okay, and maybe change your whole business model. I mean, why would you need to have checks, okay, when you can have a cryptocurrency and you have all of this information and you just do it? So this is a basic question I think that businesses need to ask themselves. Are we thinking about blockchain within our current business model, or should we just think out of the box and try and create something new?
Totally agree with you. I had just 20 minutes, so I spoke about one use case. If I were to ask to speak about 4 or 5 use cases, this was covered as one part of it, as a future transformation. But we can have a chat during the networking event, during the break. Yeah. So this is what we have been doing, besides other use cases. And we are very happy to collaborate with any other issuing bank who wants to be part of our that blockchain consortium. And they can issue the checks on the consortium as well and help the community. It's not for EmiratesNBD, it's for the banking industry and the end users specifically of UAE. Thank you very much. In conclusion,